Title: What really happens to your cat when they eat wet food every day? Intro. What if one simple change in your cat's bowl could quietly transform their health without you even noticing it first? Most cat owners believe wet food is nothing more than a tasty alternative to dry kibble. But the truth is far more surprising. Inside your cat's body, daily wet food can influence everything from hydration and kidney function to body weight, energy, and overall well-being. Some of these changes begin within the very first day, while others develop over weeks and months. Yet many owners never realize what's happening because the signs are so subtle. And while wet food offers some incredible benefits, there's also one common mistake that many cat owners make without realizing it, one that can completely cancel out those benefits. So stay with us until the end of this video, because the final point could save your cat from a problem that most owners never even think about. Let's begin with the very first change that happens the moment wet food becomes part of your cat's daily routine. Your cat finally gets the hydration their body was designed for. Have you ever noticed that your cat barely drinks from the water bowl? Many people assume their cat simply isn't thirsty or is being picky. But that's not really what's happening. Cats inherited their instincts from wild desert hunters. Their ancestors survived in dry environments where standing water wasn't always available. Instead of drinking often, they got nearly all the moisture they needed from the animals they hunted. Because of that history, modern cats still have a naturally weak thirst drive. The problem is that today's indoor cats often eat dry kibble, which contains very little moisture. Even if they have fresh water available all day, many cats never drink enough to make up for the difference. That's where wet food changes everything. Unlike kibble, wet food contains a large amount of natural moisture, much closer to what a cat would consume in the wild. As soon as your cat begins eating wet food every day, their body receives hydration during every meal instead of relying only on the water bowl. This simple change can make a remarkable difference. Their kidneys don't have to work as hard filtering concentrated waste. Their urine becomes more diluted, helping flush the urinary tract more effectively. That also lowers the risk of urinary crystals and painful blockages, especially in male cats, who are naturally more vulnerable to these problems. Many owners never notice this improvement because it happens quietly inside the body. But over time, proper hydration supports healthier kidneys, a stronger urinary system, and better overall health. Your cat may still visit the water bowl occasionally, but their body is no longer struggling to make up for constant dehydration. And believe it or not, this first benefit lays the foundation for almost every other positive change you'll see later. Your cat's weight may begin to change without eating less. Here's something that surprises many cat owners. Have you ever wondered why some indoor cats continue gaining weight even though their owners don't seem to be overfeeding them? It isn't always about the amount of food. Sometimes it's about the type of food. Many dry cat foods contain a significant amount of carbohydrates because they help form the crunchy kibble shape. The problem is that cats are obligate carnivores. Their bodies were built to process animal protein, not large amounts of carbohydrates. When extra carbs aren't used for energy, they're more likely to be stored as body fat. Over months and years, that gradual buildup can lead to excess weight without owners realizing why it's happening. Daily wet food changes this equation. Wet food is naturally richer in animal protein, lower in carbohydrates, and much higher in moisture. That combination helps your cat feel satisfied after eating without consuming as many calories. Protein keeps them fuller for longer, while the extra moisture adds volume to each meal, helping create a natural feeling of fullness. Instead of constantly searching for another snack, many cats become more content between meals. This doesn't mean wet food is a magic weight loss solution. If a cat already has obesity or another health condition, they still need proper portion control and guidance from a veterinarian. But for many healthy indoor cats, switching to a balanced wet food diet can make maintaining a healthy body weight much easier. And here's the interesting part. When cats reach a healthier weight, they often become more active, playful, and energetic. Owners sometimes think their cats suddenly became younger again. In reality, they're simply carrying less unnecessary weight and feeling much more comfortable moving around. But weight isn't the first thing most people notice. There's another change that's often visible before anything else, and it's something you can literally see every single day. Hashtag your cat's coat reveals what's happening inside. Have you ever stroked one cat whose fur feels unbelievably soft and silky, while another's coat feels dry, rough, or lifeless? Most people assume the difference comes from grooming. But brushing alone doesn't create a healthy coat. Your cat's fur is actually one of the clearest reflections of what's happening inside their body. When their nutrition isn't meeting their needs, the coat is usually one of the first places where the signs appear. You might notice dull-looking fur, constant shedding, dry skin, or small flakes that seem impossible to get rid of. These aren't just cosmetic issues. They're often your cat's way of showing that their body isn't getting everything it needs. Daily wet food can slowly change that. Because it's naturally rich in animal-based protein and healthy fats, it supplies many of the nutrients that support healthy skin and strong, shiny fur. Hair is made mostly of protein. If the body doesn't receive enough high-quality protein, it begins saving nutrients for more important organs first. That means the coat receives whatever is left over. Over time, the fur loses its softness, shine, and healthy appearance. Once a cat starts eating a balanced wet food diet every day, their body has a better supply of the nutrients needed to nourish both the skin and coat. Most owners don't notice the improvement overnight. Instead, it happens gradually. Week after week, the coat becomes smoother. Shedding often decreases. The fur feels softer when you pet your cat, and that dull appearance slowly gives way to a healthier natural shine. Many owners spend money on expensive brushes, shampoos, and supplements hoping to improve their cat's coat. Sometimes those products can help. But if the nutrition isn't right, the improvement is often temporary. Real coat health begins from the inside out. And for many cats, daily wet food provides exactly the nutritional support their skin and fur have been missing. 20. Your cat's behavior around food may completely change. Does your cat run to the kitchen the second they hear a food bag move? Do they cry constantly before meals or finish their food in seconds as if they're afraid it will disappear? Many owners think their cat is simply obsessed with food. But that's not always true. In many cases, your cat may never actually feel completely satisfied. Dry food is usually digested more quickly and contains less moisture. That means some cats begin feeling hungry again much sooner than expected. As a result, they start begging. They follow you around the house. They wait beside the food bowl. Some even wake their owners long before sunrise asking for breakfast. When wet food becomes part of their daily routine, this pattern often begins to change. Because wet food contains more protein and much more moisture, it creates a stronger feeling of fullness after each meal. The stomach stays satisfied for longer, sending natural signals to the brain that it's time to rest instead of continuing to search for food. Over time, many cats become noticeably calmer. They stop rushing every meal. The constant begging often becomes less frequent. Instead of acting desperate around food, they eat, feel satisfied, and quietly move on with their day. Of course, food isn't always the only reason behind fast eating. Some cats developed that habit while competing with other pets. Others experienced food insecurity earlier in life and learned to eat as quickly as possible. If that's the case, wet food still helps, but combining it with slower feeding methods or food puzzles can make an even bigger difference. Those activities encourage cats to eat at a slower pace while engaging the natural hunting instincts they were born with. The result isn't just healthier eating. It's a calmer, happier cat that no longer treats every meal like a race. But despite all of these amazing benefits, daily wet food isn't completely risk-free. There is one mistake that thousands of cat owners unknowingly make every single day. And unfortunately, it can turn a healthy meal into something that may upset your cat's stomach. The hidden mistake that can make wet food unsafe. After hearing all these benefits, you might be wondering, if wet food is so healthy, is there any reason to be careful? The answer is yes. Not because wet food is bad, but because of how many owners handle it after opening the can. This is one of the most overlooked mistakes in cat care. Most people place wet food in the bowl and leave it there for hours, assuming it's no different from dry kibble. Unfortunately, that's where the problem begins. Unlike dry food, wet food contains a high level of moisture. The moment it sits at room temperature, bacteria begin multiplying. At first, nothing looks unusual. The food still appears fresh. It may even smell perfectly normal. But harmful bacteria don't always change the appearance or smell of food. That's what makes this mistake so easy to miss. If your cat likes to eat a little, walk away, and return later, they may end up eating food that has been sitting out far too long. For sensitive cats, this can lead to stomach upset, vomiting, diarrhea, or digestive discomfort. The good news is that preventing this problem is incredibly simple. As a general rule, don't leave wet food sitting in the bowl for more than 2 hours. If your cat hasn't finished eating by then, it's much safer to throw the remaining food away. Any unused food left inside the can should be covered tightly and placed in the refrigerator as soon as possible. Even when refrigerated, it's best to use it within the next 2 days for maximum freshness and safety. There's another small detail many owners overlook. Serving wet food straight from the refrigerator isn't ideal either. Cats naturally prefer food that's slightly warm because, in nature, fresh prey isn't cold. Cold food can be less appealing, especially for older cats or picky eaters. Instead of serving it directly from the fridge, allow it to warm slightly. You can add a small splash of warm water or let it sit for a few minutes until it reaches a more natural temperature. Many cats find it much more enjoyable that way. Final thoughts. When you look at everything together, it's easy to understand why so many veterinarians recommend including wet food as part of a balanced diet. Daily wet food helps improve hydration. It supports kidney and urinary health. It can make maintaining a healthy weight easier. It provides valuable nutrients for healthier skin and a shinier coat. It even helps many cats feel fuller and calmer around mealtime. Of course, no single food can solve every health problem. Every cat is different. Age, activity level, medical conditions, and individual nutritional needs all play an important role in choosing the right diet. If you're planning to make a major change to your cat's meals, especially if they have an existing medical condition, it's always a good idea to speak with your veterinarian first. But for many healthy cats, adding high-quality wet food to their daily routine can be one of the simplest improvements you can make. Sometimes the biggest difference in your cat's life doesn't come from expensive toys or fancy accessories. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as what's inside the food bowl. Outro. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new about your cat, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Every week we share practical, science-based cat care tips that help you understand your feline friend on a much deeper level. And before you go, tell us in the comments. Does your cat prefer wet food, dry food, or a mix of both, ***? We'd love to hear about your cat's habits. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.